At 0214 local time, 3 groups of Ukrainian strike drones were already airborne over southern Ukraine, heading in 3 different directions. 3 targets, 3 types of Russian military hardware, 237 kilometers to the farthest one, deep inside occupied Crimea, inside a naval harbor that Russia considered untouchable. On paper, this was a suicide run. The flight path crossed the most layered air defense network in Eastern Europe. S-400 batteries with engagement envelopes stretching 400 kilometers, Pantsir systems covering the gaps, Tor launchers plugging the low-altitude blind spots. A drone flying this route should have been dead 60 seconds after crossing the front line. Should have been. Somewhere inside a command post in western Crimea, an air defense officer was staring at a scope that should have been full of contacts. It wasn't. 5 weeks earlier, Ukrainian drones had killed the Nebo-U early warning radar outside Yevpatoria, a system worth more than $100 million. The antenna was gone, the rotation mechanism shattered. Intelligence sources would later describe it as an exhibit. 4 weeks after that, they came back and hit it again, just to make sure. The same night, a Pantsir battery nearby went dark. 3 weeks before this night, another drone found the Tor M2 covering Kacha airfield, the last short-range air defense system protecting the western approach to Sevastopol. It didn't survive the visit. The officer didn't see the drones because the systems that were supposed to see them no longer existed. Crimea's layered defense had been stripped, layer by layer, over 30 days. Not in one dramatic blow, in a dozen quiet ones. Radars, missile launchers, fire control stations, each one a hole in the map that nobody patched. And right now, 3 formations of drones were threading through those holes. The closest target was only 61 kilometers from the front line. A Russian Tornado-S rocket launcher, the heaviest thing in Moscow's artillery arsenal, was sitting at a firing position near Astrakhanka. It wasn't hiding. It was shooting. The operator of an incoming FP-2 drone could see the flashes. The Tornado-S is Russia's answer to HIMARS, a 300mm rocket launcher that fires satellite-guided munitions to a range of 120 kilometers. Every city within that radius lives under the same threat. Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Nikopol, Sumy. One launcher, one salvo, a dozen guided warheads falling on apartment blocks before anyone hears the sirens. Since the full-scale invasion began, exactly 3 of these systems had been confirmed destroyed. Russia doesn't leave them in the open. They shoot and relocate. The crew fires a salvo, collapses the rails, and the vehicle moves before counter-battery radar can compute a solution. Catching one is like photographing a lightning strike. You have to already be looking at the right patch of sky. Tonight, someone was looking. An FP-2 strike drone, satellite-guided, 60-kilogram warhead, had been loitering in the area when reconnaissance picked up the thermal bloom of outgoing rockets. The Tornado-S was mid-salvo. Rails elevated, engine running, rockets still on the guides. The one moment when the system sits perfectly still. The drone operator had maybe 90 seconds. The moment that last rocket left the rail, the crew would begin packing up, and the target would be gone, probably forever. He didn't wait. The FP-2 dove toward the launcher. The footage, released hours later by the Unmanned Systems Forces commander, shows the final seconds. The bright flare of outgoing rockets, then the feed cutting to the impact frame. The warhead hit the guide rails. Whatever was still loaded cooked off in a secondary detonation that turned the launcher into a column of white light visible for kilometers. 4th confirmed kill on a Smerch-class system in nearly 4 years of war. Russia builds them slower than Ukraine finds them. 1 target down, 2 to go. But the second group of drones was already approaching something far stranger than a rocket launcher. In the coastal city of Yevpatoria, sitting on the open tarmac of an aviation repair plant, with no shelter and no air defense, were 2 aircraft that technically shouldn't have existed anymore. They were older than most of the people trying to kill them, and Russia had pulled them out of retirement for one very specific reason. If you'd like to keep following War Horizon and see how this night ends, hit subscribe and the like button. Now, back to those aircraft. The Bereev B-12 was born in 1960, a twin turboprop amphibious aircraft with a 30-meter wingspan built to hunt NATO submarines across the Black Sea. It could land on water, carry a magnetic anomaly detector sensitive enough to find a steel hull beneath 40 meters of ocean, and loiter for hours over open sea. The Soviets built about 143 of them. Then, in 1973, the production line shut down, permanently. For half a century, these machines sat in hangars, slowly cannibalizing each other for parts. Most were scrapped. A handful survived, museum pieces with engines that somehow still turned over. By early this year, Flight Global counted 7 in Russian Navy service. 7, for the entire fleet. And then, Russia gave them a job nobody else could do. In December, Ukraine had changed the rules of the Black Sea. A submersible drone called Sub-Sea Baby, essentially an autonomous torpedo, had navigated into Novorossiysk harbor and detonated against a docked Kilo-class submarine. The first underwater drone strike on a submarine in history. Russia suddenly had a problem it hadn't planned for. Threats coming from beneath the surface. Surface radars can't see them. Patrol boats can't hear them. The only aircraft in the Russian inventory with a magnetic anomaly detector capable of hunting something silent and submerged was a plane designed before the Cuban Missile Crisis. So Russia sent its B-12s to find Ukrainian underwater drones. The irony was exquisite. They were dropping PLAB-250-120 anti-submarine depth bombs on targets skimming the surface. Cold War ordnance against 21st century autonomy. The aerial equivalent of swatting mosquitoes with a dictionary. The 2 B-12s at the Yevpatoria Repair Plant never saw the drones coming. They were parked in the open. No hardened shelters, no revetments, no point defense. The Pantsir that once covered this stretch of coastline had been killed weeks earlier. The aircraft sat on the tarmac like museum exhibits waiting for a fire. The strike footage shows the thermal flash of the first hit, then the second. 2 more airframes gone from a fleet that can never grow, only shrink. 5 months ago, Ukraine had destroyed another pair at Kacha airfield. The math was becoming extinction level. 7 minus 2 minus 2. Russia's ability to hunt the thing it feared most, the invisible drone beneath the waves, was disappearing, 2 aircraft at a time. And the people who built these drones knew it. 237 kilometers from the front line, Inkerman Bay sits at the eastern throat of Sevastopol's harbor, a narrow inlet where the cliffs close in and the water goes black at night. Pier 52. 2 Project 22-460 patrol ships moored side by side, 630 tons each, 62.5 meters of steel, sensors, and a gun designed to kill exactly the kind of thing that was now flying toward them. The AK-630 is a 6-barreled rotary cannon that fires 5,000 rounds per minute. Its bass-tilt radar can track a fighter-sized target at 7 kilometers and engage it at 4. Against an incoming anti-ship missile, the system gets 1 burst, maybe 2, before impact. Against a slow, low-flying drone, the math should have been generous. Should have been. But math requires a radar that's turned on. The ships were moored, engines cold. The duty watch was running peacetime protocol. Navigation lights, port security, nothing more. The bass tilt wasn't spinning. The AK-630 wasn't tracking. The Gibka launcher, 6 Igla-S missiles on a pedestal mount, needs a sailor to physically point it at a target he can see. In the dark, from a pier, against something the size of a washing machine flying at 150 kilometers an hour, that sailor would have needed roughly the reaction time of a professional baseball player. At 2 in the morning, without warning. Each ship also carried a Horizon Air S-100 drone, an Austrian-designed unmanned helicopter meant to spot small, fast targets at 150 kilometers. Neither was airborne. They sat folded in their hangars on the aft deck, useless as the swimming pool 1 deck below. Yes, swimming pool. The Project 22-460 was designed with a sauna and a pool for its 24-man crew, because when you're the FSB's elite border patrol and your primary concern is smugglers and fishing boats, comfort matters. Comfort mattered considerably less at 0231, when the first drone appeared on the thermal camera footage released by Ukraine's general staff. The image is grainy, green-white, 3 seconds of infrared. A ship's superstructure. Then a flash, no return fire. Not 1 round from a gun that fires 83 per second. The second ship was right there. Same pier, same darkness, same silence. If the crew of the first Okhotnik didn't fire, the crew of the second had maybe 20 seconds of warning. The sound of the explosion next door, the light of their sister ship burning. 20 seconds to wake up, process what was happening, find a target in the dark, and do something about it. The Igla needs a man on deck with the launcher on his shoulder. The AK-630 needs the radar nobody had switched on. 20 seconds isn't enough. Not at 2 in the morning. Not when the threat doctrine never included a kamikaze drone arriving at Pier 52. The second hit landed. Ukraine's general staff published the thermal footage. 2 bright signatures where 2 ships used to be dark silhouettes. Strikes confirmed. Damage assessment ongoing. In the space of less than 90 minutes, Ukrainian drones had reached 3 targets across 2 regions. A rocket launcher caught mid-salvo. 2 irreplaceable aircraft on an open tarmac. 2 warships at a guarded pier. 5 pieces of hardware. 0 interceptions. 0 return fire. Somewhere up the chain, a Russian commander was looking at a map that had just changed in 3 places at once. And every option on his desk was a different kind of losing. Move the remaining Okhotniks out of Sevastopol? Then who patrols the harbor mouth against the sea drones that have already sunk a frigate, a landing ship, and a submarine? Scatter the surviving B-12s to airfields deeper in Russia? Then they can't reach the patrol zones where Ukrainian underwater drones are already operating. Bring in replacement air defense to fill the gaps that made this night possible? From where? The front eats Pantsirs and Tors faster than factories can build them. 2 months earlier, Ukrainian special operations drones had struck another Okhotnik, the Rasul Gamzatov, while it was guarding oil platforms in the Caspian Sea. 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine. Nowhere was far enough. The name of the ship class translates to hunter. The hunter was becoming the hunted, and the herd was thinning fast. Step back from this one night and look at what it means. Russia built Crimea into a fortress. After the annexation, the peninsula became the crown jewel of military infrastructure in the Black Sea. Naval bases, airfields, missile batteries, radar networks, logistics hubs. Everything the Kremlin needed to project power from Sevastopol to the Bosporus. For years, the assumption held. Crimea was the unsinkable aircraft carrier, defended in depth, untouchable by anything short of a full-scale NATO strike. Ukraine didn't need a full-scale strike. It needed patience and cheap drones. In December alone, Ukrainian unmanned systems destroyed or damaged 128 Russian air defense systems and radar stations. Not in a single dramatic assault, in dozens of small, methodical raids that turned layered defense into Swiss cheese. Each radar killed was a blind spot that never got patched. Each missile battery burned was a corridor that stayed open. By the time this night arrived, the layered defense of Crimea existed mostly in briefing slides. And the losses are compounding in places Russia cannot fix. The B-12 fleet is in a death spiral. 3 airframes left, maybe fewer, with no factory on Earth that can build another one. Every aircraft destroyed is a permanent subtraction from Russia's ability to detect the underwater drones that are already hitting submarines in port. The Okhotnik fleet is bleeding at a rate of roughly 1 ship per month. The Tornado S, one of 4 lost in 4 years, represents precision artillery capability that takes a specialized factory and 18 months to replace. Ukraine spent 1 night and a handful of drones. Russia lost the ability to patrol its harbor, hunt submarine threats, and bombard a city. 3 capabilities, 1 darkness. The cost asymmetry isn't a gap, it's a canyon. Crimea is no longer a fortress, it's a trap. Everything Russia sends there becomes a target. Everything it pulls out leaves a gap. The unsinkable aircraft carrier is sinking. Not from torpedoes, but from $10,000 drones arriving 2 or 3 at a time, night after night, until there's nothing left to defend. Russia keeps parking its most valuable hardware in the same places Ukraine keeps hitting. So here's the question. At what point does the fortress become the liability? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're there, tell us where you're watching from. We've got viewers from over 90 countries and counting. If this story hit different, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Because this war isn't slowing down, and neither are we. This is War Horizon. See you on the next one.